When Queen Elizabeth died, I was determined to not be interested or pay attention. But that plan simply evaporated when I found out that the minister at my church was going to be performing the ceremony of the prayer service following her death. I had to tune in for that. Callum is a terrific person, but truth be known, behind the scenes there's plenty of intrigue and baggage. When I write my expose about church life, it's going to be called What Happens Behind the Stained Glass Stays Behind the Stained Glass. Welcome to Illinois Bridging Awareness. I'm Stanley Smith at Illinois Bridging Awareness. Our affirmation is that God intends all good things for us. And our intention is that we are going to manifest all good things for ourselves and for others in the world. And our visualization together is that we can see that this is happening. Last week we were so pleased to have Sue Liu from the Falun Gong, and she explained to us the exercise and practice of Falun Gong, which is a physical exercise of exhibiting and contemplating and cultivating the ideas of tolerance, compassion, and forbearance. These are things we don't always hear about in today's world, but they're important concepts, and we really need to embrace them physically, emotionally, and mentally, and bring them into our heart and extend compassion and forbearance and tolerance to ourselves and to everyone. In the second hour, the political hour, conservative hour, we had guest Ania Gramone, and she shared the idea of managing our stress and breaking out of the cycle of stress. Ania explained that when we encounter a dangerous situation, our body responds physically in our central nervous system to create either a fight, run, or freeze mechanism. And then when the danger passes, we're supposed to acknowledge the passing and return to our normal state. But Ania pointed out something to us that I think is obvious to everyone, that we are almost in a constant state of panic and fear, and we never seem to get around to the part of acknowledging that we're in a safe place and a good place and returning back to a normal state. So this is something we want to explore further, and actually we're going to invite Sue Liu to the Conservative Political Hour in the future, and we're going to bring Ania to the Illinois Bridging Awareness Hour so we can get the best of both worlds, because Ania definitely suggested that we do a physical practice of acknowledging that we are safe and then feeling that exit through our central nervous system. She said this is something we can't figure out in our heads or think ourselves out of it because it's a physical thing. And I think that hangs very nicely with our affirmation that God intends us to live in a safe place, and indeed He's created the world that this can be so. Later in the day, I had the occasion to attend a worldwide meditation for alleviating darkness in the world. I think we all experience sometimes that it can feel like we're living in a dark place, personally and in our family life and in our community, definitely in the state and in the nation and in the world. And I did borrow from Lily in Oregon the idea that, she pointed out that if you're feeling you're in a dark place, it's probably because you're supposed to be the light in the dark place. And I think we're trying to be that here in Illinois. And I think we have been the light in dark places, and we've seen it happen oftentimes on the Saturday call. But in the worldwide meditation on Saturday, the facilitators listed all the organizations, institutions, and groups around the world and in the country by category that were leaning into the dark and needed healing and light to enter those entities. And they were grouped by various different factions: governmental, environmental, religious, fraternal, and included, of course, the CDC, the FBI, both the Republican and the Democrat Party, most of the world's religions. And before they finished the list, I was becoming apparent to me that this list was going to include every institution and man-made convention that we could think of. And I think that is informative, because if you're a church-going person, You might be familiar that in the form of the church, there's the confession of sin, and we recite that on a pretty regular basis, and we think, oh yeah, those are those other people, and those other places in our lives that we're just going to skip over. But the confession of sin is something that I heard in the worldwide meditation, that all of creation and all of man-made institutions are indeed fallen. So part of that goes back to our intention and our affirmation. God has created the world good and intends all good things for us, but because we're somewhat lesser than God, it's not always so in the institutions and organizations and relationships that we form and create. So that was my takeaway from the worldwide meditation, that our expectation is flawed because we're putting the hope and our intention in man-made things and not in God, because God alone is perfect and God is the light. We're not going to find the light in the CDC or the FBI, but we need to be the light in whatever institution you're involved in, whatever company you're working with, whatever family or relationship situation you're in. You are not going to be completely good, but you need to be aware that the bad is in there with you, and you need to mitigate the ill effects of that as best you can. I do believe that's what we're called to be during this time, this very strange time in history. If you're seeing something that's amiss, instead of lamenting about it, instead of just freezing or running or doing nothing, you need to say something. We all need to say something at this time. This week, my mother received a St. Jude calendar, which she had contributed a donation for and received as a thank you gift. And she was flipping through it and noticed that Easter was not included in the calendar. And then she took a closer look. She saw that Mother's Day is not in there, Father's Day is not in there. Very few holidays are actually listed in the St. Jude calendar. And she called St. Jude and asked them why that was. And they explained to her that was because of customer feedback. My mom explained to her that, well, that customer feedback was BS, and that it's a direct reflection of what's going on in Washington and in our nation, a complete erosion of morals and tradition and traditional values. This week, as we witnessed the beginning of the ceremonies for Queen Elizabeth, I think we were struck by that. She was portrayed as a light in the world, and I suppose on some level she was, but we could also see that she's presided over the continual decline of the world, the values, morals, and traditional aspects of our daily living that have been slowly eroded. And she's presided over that by providing stability, but by basically saying nothing. In the proceedings yesterday, they pointed out, the commentators, that King Charles will now have to put aside his political voice and focus purely on his duties. And again, I can see the value in both those approaches. I would say that in our political life in this country, that might be something we could take note of and implement as a expectation and as a practice, that when our elected officials are elected to office to serve us, we could all benefit if they put their political ambitions and politicalization of all topics aside and simply governed on our behalf. I think that wherever you are in the Queen Elizabeth story, if you're interested or not, it's reminds me of what she said when Princess Diana died some years ago. There are many lessons to be drawn and learned from the way these lives have been lived and the way these people died. If you would like to join us on the Saturday call, this week we'll be having Jim Downs, who is from the Positivity Company, which focuses on the semantics of words and the power of words, and the focus on goodness, truth, and beauty. And it's a great example. He'll give us good examples of how to manifest that in the world, how to be intentional about it. And if we lean into what is good and true and beautiful, we can continue to bring the light into the world. The Saturday call is every Saturday at 9 a.m. Central Time on Zoom. I will include my email in the description of this video, and I'll be happy to send you an invitation. And I look forward to seeing you very, very soon.